Hey guys, it's Marty and welcome to Two Line Slot Cars. This is part 2 of my journey building my very first wood routed oval track here at Two Lines. So let's dig in. So guys, we have so much to cover. So much work's been done on the raceway. Still don't have a name for it, but you guys have been throwing out some great names in the live stream. The Chili Bowl was one. Thank you, Jamie. I'm trying to think of some others. There's a lot of them that were tied to Chillicothe, since that's where it's at. A lot of them tied to Two Lines. I don't know what we'll end up naming it, but we'll figure that out. But this is part 2. It's probably going to be part 3, maybe even part 4. I don't know. I've got a lot of B-roll footage of building this track. There's a lot to do when you build a track. So today we're going to tackle getting the lanes finished routed, the straightaways, wiring up the table, putting the copper tape down, painting the table. I don't know. There's a lot to cover. So let's dive in right now. Let's just get to it. All right. I am putting the table together. I'm starting to pin that middle board down. Everything was square off of that. And then now I'm attaching the curved pieces of MDF to the table. And then I thought I would take a minute to mix up some Bondo and repair all of my mistakes. And these are the mistakes that I'd made up to this point. And a little later, I make another routing error. The guide moved on me, but that's all right. So now I'm pinning the middle of this, just because later we will add to the banking, and I'll show you that. But this is just me prepping and starting to route the rest of the lanes. And I sped this up because routing is kind of boring, but and the MDF dust just packs down in. So I was trying to clean up as I went, so I would save the mess. And then I would move my board, and I would patch those holes that I screwed down. And then I would set and measure. And you have to measure here. And on the other end, tie that board down. Then I moved the router just to make sure, because what I didn't do is realize that it moved on me. And then I started routing, and it didn't meet up with the curve. I don't show that, but it happens, trust me. It's on the other side of the table, and I have to patch it with Bondo. So, okay, I'm working on the banking, and in the straights, I just want a slight bank. So I basically took ½ inch. You can see that's a ½ inch piece of trim, and I basically put that along the straight. And if you look at the level, you can see where the bubble is, maybe, and that's where I wanted it. Okay, so about half of the bubble, but I wanted a little more banking in the turn, but not a ton. And so I found this. I have 8 pieces of this cut a foot long, and it's like 11/16. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it here underneath and prop up. So there's 4 sections the way I built this around the turn, and we're going to put one in each section and see if we like it. All right, so I have those pieces in 4 sections, and that's not going to move, so I'm not wasting anything. And then if we look at where the bubble is, yeah, I like that. That's exactly what I was going for. So all the routing's done. I did make a little boo-boo. My guide slid, and had to do some Bondo to repair. Now I need to get my seams and my holes plugged, and do this side. And I can feel it. I feel the little bit of, yeah, it feels good. I like it. And now I've started the painting process, and I picked high speed. It's a gray from Valspar, and it was recommended by Kevin at Racetrack Scenics, and I liked how his track looked, so I called him from Lowe's just to check on the color. But it went on pretty easy. I saved some money, and I bought the cheapest latex you can get at Lowe's in Valspar. It's $20. And then I sanded in between coats. This is a 220 sanding foam pad, and that really did a nice job. And then I used a tack cloth to wipe it down in between coats. I think I put 4 coats of paint on the track. And then now it was time to prep the track now that the paint was finished and dried. And so I started drilling the holes to be able to run the copper tape. I chose copper tape for a number of reasons, mainly the budget. Okay, I drilled holes. I've made the decision to initially go with copper tape. And so I did 1/4-inch holes on each side so that I can take the tape down. And then later on, if I decide to go with braid, I can just cut the recesses and use these same holes to drop the braid down through. So Dave Gourley taught me that you want to have plenty of length, and as you pull the backing off, you want to have quite a bit to work with, okay? And so hold it out here, and then just kind of guide it, and you can make this stuff bend, but don't stretch it. Just tight enough, taut, and just take your time, nice and slow. I'm trying to leave about 1/8 of an inch from the slot, and I've been laying this for about 2 minutes, and I'm almost halfway with the long piece of straight. You can lay out pretty easy. So I'll just come down here about halfway and line it up. Same thing. So now I just did a time lapse of running copper on these outside lanes, and I felt like I had enough copper tape to do the whole table, but I wasn't sure. There were only 2 1/4-inch copper tape. You can get it at Hobby Lobby in the stained glass section. So there I am using Dave Gourley's technique. Give yourself plenty to work with. Just don't stretch it out, and you will not get wrinkles in the tape. And then as I finished this up, I varnished all of this tape so that it really stuck down. Okay, I just finished the copper tape. That installation is pretty easy. We'll see how it performs. I varnished it really good with a piece of plastic, and I just went over and made sure that everything was down nice, and I imagine I'll still keep doing that. Yeah. So here's where I went down through the table. Everything terminates underneath, ties each of the lanes together, or each side of the tape together underneath. Kind of just got that screwed into the surface or the bottom of the table. Maybe you can see that. And that's really just temporary. I don't know exactly how I want to do it. I probably want to label and organize that and get it nice and neat underneath. There we go. Which means, should we hook up one of the lanes and test it, even though we're not done with the table? I don't know. Let me think about that. So in theory, I have one lane wired up just to see if it'll work. Okay, so we brought the copper tape down through the 1/4-inch holes and tied each rail copper tape together, and then basically just took a screw through the copper tape to a wire, and all of the left rails, so this is lane 4, 3, 2, 1, the left rail on each one then goes and aggregates here and then connects to all of the driver stations, to the red on all the driver stations. And then the black goes from the right rail to each of the driver stations for each lane. And then the positive goes to all the white driver stations. So I've got those aggregated here and marked. The positive is all going to the driver stations. And honestly, it looks kind of like a mess, but it was so easy to organize on the bottom of this. So yeah, now is to finish the driver stations and make these connections. Some inexpensive wire, guys, is I bought from Menards like a 100-foot extension cord for like $10, $12. Excuse me. And I use that for my driver stations, and it works great. So that's the wiring on the bottom. So now we need to install the driver stations. Now I'm outside and I'm making my driver stations, and I'm just painting the colors for the lanes. I'm just masked it off, so the right side, and then here I will mark the 3 holes. And then this is the mounting. I'm going to put them underneath the table, so they'll be kind of low, but out of the way, but should still be easy to see. This is how I've built my driver stations on the others. I did leave room to add XLR later. I just didn't have any. Again, I'm trying to do this under budget. Like, I'm really trying to do this track for under $400. I'm shooting for about $350. And so this is wood that I already had, and just trying to take advantage of some things. So I installed these just straight into the 2x4 that's part of the table. So they sit kind of low, but they're easy to get to. I left enough room on those driver stations to add XLR. So eventually, once those XLRs come in, I'll drill the holes and wire them up. Pretty easy. And then I was trying to measure, make sure everything was even. But I did want to put all the driver stations on one side. And then now I'm attaching the cable the wiring. And I used brass just because there's less chance of arcing with the alligator clips.
All right, we're back under the table, and I have installed all the driver stations and wired them up. And since this is 3-wire, the white goes to all of the whites to connect to all the left rails. The black goes from the driver's station to the right rails. And then the red, which is the green wire here, sorry for the confusion, but it's just how the extension cord is, which is red for the controller on the driver stations. It comes down and aggregates together, goes to the negative of the power supply. And since this is positive polarity, it means that your power is on your right rail and your left rail is the common. So there you go.
Okay, we now have our driver stations installed and wired up on the bottom. That wire is to the power supply, and there's another wire down below. Now just to clean up, we are in the home stretch. The next thing would be is to put the walls, get a power supply, and we're racing.
So now that we're all wired up, I thought I'd wipe it down and test all the control driver stations just to make sure that they worked. So I plugged in the blue, ran some laps, moved to green, moved to white. Now, I added a green lane instead of yellow lane like in my other track because I like the look of red, white, blue, green on the Fast Laps race screen. It just looks fantastic.
All right. Yes, success. Now it's time. We're getting close to the end. So now it's time to work on the walls. I added stability to the legs. Now I just need to wrap this and paint the wall. We've made really good progress. We have a working wood routed oval. I'm pretty happy. This is pretty cool.
Thanks for tuning in. Guys, if you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Hit the bell so you get notified anytime I put out content. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoy this. Part 3 is coming soon, and we're going to get some cars on this track. So let's go.